Hello everyone, my name is Blue, and this is a Console Corner weekly update. I thought I'd start this so that, I can get the quick recaps out of the way and leave the more in-depth recaps for Console Corner, which is every Thursday on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/realbluetv. That's REALBLUTV. And that will be for the more in-depth recaps of the particular games that we picked to recap that week. But Week 2 of the PCL is in the books. It's been an awesome season so far. They showed all 8 sets. So every game, every match was shown on the Mixer stream. So shout out to High Res and Skillshot Media for that one. Let's get right into it real quick. Radiant versus OTP. Radiant won the set 2-1, mainly because of Kings on his Bomb King in game 1 and 2. Game 1 and 3. Badge Tiger on the Genos and his partner Naiju on the Khan in game 2 are the reason why they were able to win that game on Jag Falls and take it to a game 3. They played spectacular, but Radiant out on top of OTP 2-1, and Radiant moves to 1-1 this season. Vex versus Zimmerframe. Vex takes the W 2-0, and Welsh Mania was the standout guy for me there. Game 1, he was on the Zin. Spectacular play. Know when to poke in and out for those flank opportunities. And then on game 2, he played the Kinessa, and he played just as brilliantly. It was awesome seeing him pull out the Kinessa. I know EU really likes their Kinessa. EU Xbox really favors their Kinessas, their Maldambas. We've seen a lot of those being played in that region over the past couple months. Kirsty's Hands versus Happy Battle Cats actually went 3 games. I wouldn't have expected this to begin with. Kirsty's Hands building themselves a resume as of lately to contend with Onslaught for that region's top spot. But they were taken to game 3 by Happy Battle Cats. Dovahkiin on the Ruckus in game 1 and 3 was a standout for me, especially game 1 with the doubles and triple kills that he was racking up. He actually almost got a penta with that Ruckus. So that was amazing to watch him play a champ that he's been playing so well in the PCL already. Genos R34 on the Vivian in game 2 is partly why they were able to win that game against Kirsty's Hands and force game 3. They also, this was interesting, they also ran the Vivian, the Torvald, Fernando, and a Furia who could put shields on people while she healed them. So they essentially had 4 champions on their lineup in their draft that could put shields on people and themselves. So that was a really big factor in that game as well. And then in game 3, it's all up to GC2MT. Now, Dovahkiin was on his Ruckus again, but I have to give it to GC this time on the Saris. His ultimates were just beautiful. Every time he threw out the convergence, it just happened to pull in 2 or more people, and it was very, very good. It potentially won them a lot of point fights as well, so shout out to him for that one. And our last Xbox match of the day was Onslaught versus Baldy Bunch. Wonderful on the Saris in game 1 was, again, wonderful. He played Saris both games in week 1, and here he is playing Saris again. He's going damage Saris, putting up a little bit of side healing as well. But he's doing what he does best, and that's just kill things in front of him and win games. And then in game 2, it was all up to Wonderful, Coolmat, and Skeppy this time. Wonderful on the Koga. Yes, Koga did get through. It was the only game all day of all 8 sets that he did get through. So it was awesome to see Wonderful play the Koga in game 2. Coolmat on the Strix was able to just put out insane damage numbers because of Skeppy on the Tyra, putting that hunting mark on their targets and being able to call out those hunting mark targets together. That was just awesome to see as well. I think he was hitting for over 2,200 a shot with the Strix. Moving over to the PS4 side of things, Cyclone versus Brutal Fissure. This went to 3 games. I thought this would go to 3 games, and then both teams played amazing. Cyclone subbed out the Rain for It's Tito, and It's Tito showed up. In game 1, he played spectacular on the Drogos. I didn't see him miss many shots at all. And that's tough to do on the controller on console, especially with a champion like Drogos. In Game 3, he played the Vivian, and again, he played it very well. Ran the sapper rounds, put the cauterize on, and had the automatic Nimble 3 in his loadout and was just running around wreaking havoc amongst his enemies. But in Game 2, which Brutal Fissure won and was able to force that Game 3, Atomic AMK on the Drogos was just amazing. That man stepped into the limelight as of recently. He's leading in damage. He's leading in damage per game, and he's leading in kills in the league as well. Atomic AMK really making an impact in the Brutal Fissure lineup and in the PCL itself. But Cyclone takes that over Brutal Fissure 2-1. Next up, we have Flashpoint versus YCT. This went heavily in the favor of Flashpoint. Game 1, Harvey on the con played beautifully, but the whole team did, really. They had multiple team wipes of YCTG in all of the game. Multiple times they were able to just erase their entire team from the battlefield at once. In Game 2, they had 2 blasters, Drogos and Willow. They were played by Goodlad and Prosper, and they just played amazing. Not having a hit scan sometimes is a little difficult, especially with 2 blasters. The other team can load up on blast shields and draft a hit scan themselves and be able to deal with those. But they played it beautifully, and they were able to dodge all of that. They win that set 2-0. Elevate versus Game Over. In Game 1, I think the draft was clearly won. It was on Brightmarsh, and I think the draft was clearly won by Elevate. Elevate, the best team in the league right now. They had a Tyra, Grover, Willow, and Anara all on that map. They had the Makoa to complement as well. And speaking of that Makoa is being played that game from Kyle Conrad, which actually is Emmett Payne from Xbox. And in Game 2, they were line of sighting their enemy Kinessa fairly well on Splitstone Quarry. They were playing underneath the bleachers, doing what they needed to do to stay alive and stay out of trouble from that Kinessa. And Emmett Payne on the Fernando just chasing people around. Kyle Conrad, or Emmett Payne, has only died 1 time in 4 games this season. And that was in Game 1, where he died 1 time. So in the last 3 games, Kyle has not died at all. They beat Game Over 2-0 in that set. Warm-Up versus Oni Channers, our last match of the day. Oni Channers were able to beat Warm-Up 2-0. And this was just as fast as a match or as a set as Elevate versus Game Over was. In Game 1, they drafted a Moji and a Pip for Oni Channers. Moji being played by Swiper the One, and that's a little offsetting now. Well, not offsetting. That's a little off meta now since Moji has dropped out of the top tiers champions and as well as the meta. But they ran the Toot Moji, and Swiper did fairly well on that. And Pip on the side being played from Atomic Boom. I know a lot of us thought we'd see Swiper playing that Pip, but it was Atomic Boom coming out of that draft with the Pip, and he played spectacularly on that as well. So they won Game 1 under those 2 champs. Game 2, they picked the Willow and Vivian for Atomic Boom and Swiper to play, and again, they played spectacularly. So they really showed up for their team this week, and they win that set 2-0. Next week, the 3 matches that I am super excited to watch. Radiant versus Zimmerframe. Both those teams have lost to Vex this season already. But I really want to see, both of them are contending for that 2nd place spot right now and trying to grind to get in to 1st place by beating Vex. But I really would like to see between those 2 teams who's really out in front. And then I'd like to see Onslaught versus Kirsty's Hands so we can actually see who is leading the pack in the Xbox NA. We know Xbox NA is one of the strongest divisions across all the regions of the league. So I'd really like to see if Kirsty's Hands can pull it out. They've built their resume. They've had the strength of schedule. And now here they are having to face Onslaught in a 3-game set. So this will be interesting. They only played them once, and that was in the qualifiers in a best of 1. So you can't really gauge from that. And then the last match I'm looking forward to is Elevate versus Oni Channers, who are also both 2-0 in the league already. Now they have the 2 weakest teams in the league in their division. So I'd like to see how these 2 teams go up against each other. And a little known fact, or a little stat for you guys, is Oni Channers have the best KDA. Elevate has had the fastest matches this season so far, and they've only faced each other once before, and that was during week 1 of qualifiers where Oni Channers beat Elevate. In week 2, Oni Channers lost in the semifinals in a best of 1 set, so they weren't able to face Elevate that 2nd time. So Elevate has never beaten Oni Channers, and Oni Channers is 1-0 against Elevate. So I'm Be looking forward to seeing who's the real number one team in PS4 NA after week 3. My name's Blue. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out the podcasts as well as the power rankings. And if you have any comments, just leave them below, and I'll be sure to answer them. See you later.